violated two of our most sacred values: transparency and accountability. That's right. In this country, public servants are accountable to the people who elect them. They work for us. And we have every right to know about the financial dealings and the potential conflicts of interest of our elected officials. Now, I can go all day, but I won't, because you guys are not coming here to see me speak. You came here to march. But with that being said, beyond today, if you want to stay engaged and continue holding this president accountable, please take your cell phones out and text MARCH to 21333, and you'll be among the first to learn about the next big resistance movement. If you are tweeting or posting on social media, you have to do this these days, guys, please use the hashtag #TaxMarch. And a few more housekeeping notes before we get the program underway. Please make note, our marshals, and that they are here to assist you. They are wearing orange safety vests and are located all around you along the parade route. If you have any concern, please reach out to them. Also, please be aware of the first aid area here at the Capitol location. There will also be a first aid tent at the end of the march. That would also happen to be the family reunification location. So if you lose your friends and family, meet them at the first aid tent at the JFK hockey fields. I promise you it does exist. And we don't want you guys to go home alone. So thanks again for being here today. And with that, please give a big round of applause for Sister Simone Campbell and Rabbi Nehemiah Ben Moshe.
Good afternoon. I don't believe there has ever been a gathering such as this for taxes. I am so grateful that you are here because we are standing up to say we the people care about our tax policy and about what our president does with his tax return. We the people know we should be able to see it. Now, there is a fair amount of scriptural stories this weekend in the Christian tradition where we experience disbelief. We experience apostles scratching their heads and being puzzled. We experience the women going to the tomb where Jesus was laid, being surprised, bewildered, stunned. But you know what? We should not be among the bewildered. We should not be among the group that scratches our head. We should be among the people who know that their leadership is transparent and will share with us the truth of what his tax status is. But that all says we have work to do. So for a moment of quiet, let us call the Spirit of the Divine, whatever name you use to address what I refer to as the Holy Spirit, that is the breath of disturbance, the breath of mischief, the breath of change. Let us take a moment and call on that breath of God to move in us, to move us to know that this is about the 100%, where all are engaged in our care. O breath of the divine, free our voices to speak clearly. Free our ears that today we may hear the facts, the true facts that we need to fuel our movement. Free our hearts to be people of love and compassion and welcome. Free our bodies that we might march and act and claim this moment in history. And most of all, free our neighbors.
Shema Israel, Im Kol Shonutenu, Kol Adam Echad. Listen, you people who wrestle with all of your diversity. all of humanity is one. This week, the Jewish community is celebrating the holiday of Passover. It is the story of our liberation from slavery and oppression. It is not just a story about supernatural intervention in history. It is the story of sending a message to the Pharaoh through demonstrations of just how powerful people can be when they join together and demand change. It is not just a story of how God intervenes in human history to redeem the enslaved Israelites. It is a story of people who stood up and made the change happen. The rabbis taught that it was an Israelite, Nachshon ben Aminadav, who stepped in the sea, that it was his faith in the possibility of redemption that caused the sea to part. I stand here today as a representative of different facets of that story. My great-grandfather was a rabbi, and he immigrated to this country and changed his last name to Ben Moshe, son of Moses, literally his father's name, but also implying that he was of the people who struggle and travel to find freedom. I inherit both his last name and his passion for service in the Jewish community, a passion to seek out injustice and to work for those who need support. There's a repeated mandate throughout the Bible to care for the widow, the orphan, and the stranger. As American citizens, we fulfill that mandate through social services that are available because of our taxes and our philanthropic efforts to support nonprofit organizations dedicated to this work. We want to know that our leaders support these efforts. I don't just stand here as a person who has taken on a legacy of service. I am also the daughter of the late former CEO of AIG, Bob Ben Moshe. When my father passed away in 2015, I inherited the financial legacy of his work as a corporate executive. It feels especially important to share that fact because I am the, quote, rich who benefit from unfair tax systems and loopholes. And I'm standing here and standing with you to say, it is wrong. I also understand personally that taking on public roles in leadership takes away the right to privacy that other citizens enjoy. When you choose to make your life public, when you choose to represent the tax-paying American citizens, you have a responsibility. Transparency in your business endeavors and in your personal life in multiple arenas is the work of gaining the trust of the people you are leading. We stand together today demanding that work be done. We stand here declaring that we care about creating fair systems of taxation that support our communities, especially those with the greatest need. Let us work together to repair this world through truth, through transparency, through a fair system for all. Thank you.
Can you show me what democracy looks like?
This is what democracy looks like!
Show me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like!
not be possible. So please give a big progressive round of applause for MoveOn.org, Freedom, the Working Families Organization, Stand Up America, the American Federation of Teachers, Americans for Tax Fairness, and the Indivisible. Overnight. Your tireless work and advocacy on behalf of the tax marches has been very good, very incredible, tremendous. Now I want to introduce one of the movement's staunchest allies and biggest supporters, Senator Ron Wyden from Oregon, who serves as the ranking member of the Senate Finance Committee. Please welcome Senator Wyden.
Today, my message for the president is short enough to tweet. Today, across America, we are taking the gloves off. To say it's time to knock off the tax ripoffs. No more Cayman Island accounts for the insiders. No more tax breaks for shipping jobs overseas. No more special breaks for Wall Street. It's high time for more good-paying red, white, and blue jobs here in America. We are taking the gloves off to say, knock off the secrecy, Mr. President, and publicly release your own tax return. Disclosing tax returns is the very lowest ethical bar for a president, and we are going to insist that he clear it. We are taking the gloves off to say knock off business as usual taxation, where the nurse and the cop has their taxes taken right out of their wage, and the high flyers get to pay what they want when they want to. We're going to end that. So, there's your Saturday tweet, Mr. President. We are taking the gloves off. Knock it off. Now, if that somehow isn't clear enough, let me put it another way. Across America, you've got citizens speaking on behalf of millions of others to insist that the president take two concrete steps. One, we want real tax reform that demonstrates that you're working in the people's interest, not your interest. It's time we had honest answers about the write-offs, the check-offs, and any rip-offs that twist and skew the tax code for the fortunate few. Friends, it is way out of whack. And I see this as the senior Democrat on the tax writing committee. It's just way out of whack to have one set of rules for the fortunate few that include the president and his friends who can hire pricey accountants and lawyers to stash cash in the Cayman Islands accounts, paying what they want when they want to, and then have another tougher set of rules for the construction worker, the firefighter, and anybody who brings home a pay stub to support their families. We need a system that gives working people a fair chance finally to get ahead too. And that brings me to demand number 2. And it deals directly with 1600 Pennsylvania, Mar-a-Lago, or I guess lots of other Trump properties. We believe, Mr. President, you must finally meet the same test as every other president, Democrat and Republican, since Watergate. Each of those presidents thought the public had a right to transparency and accountability, and each of them publicly released their taxes.
Right.
President Trump has tossed this great American tradition in the trash can like a teenager trying to hide a lousy report card. And it seems to me, and it's particularly on my mind today when I think of the millions of people who are still working on their taxes and trying to make this form get in sync with that form. We'll talk about simplifying that mess down the road. But while all those working families are trying to finish their returns, they have a right, they have a basic right to know whether the president pays his fair share. Tax returns, it's all there in black and white. Maybe we could get some answers to the whole array of questions about business connections, especially to Russia. To close this up, I've actually proposed legislation. We've got more than 20 senators sponsoring it in the Senate. Congresswoman Waters is going to talk as well. The legislation says that within 15 days of becoming a nominee at the party convention, the candidates would be required to release at least 3 years of tax returns. That doesn't seem to be too much. And particularly through this time of year, the bill says that a sitting president would have to release their returns annually. So we can get them now. And because we're taking the gloves off to say, knock off the secrecy, I've asked the chairman of the Finance Committee, and they can do it in the Ways and Means Committee over in the House. You can ask Maxine about that. We've asked those committee chairs to use their authority to obtain the president's tax returns for review. But today, here in Washington, my hometown of Portland, in a modest-sized community, Grants Pass, Oregon, people, Mr. President, want your response to 2 questions. The first is, why won't you do what every Republican and every Democratic president has done since Watergate? Why won't you do it? Mr. President, why won't you meet the lowest ethical bar, not a high one, the lowest ethical bar for a president and publicly release your returns? Tell us why you won't. We are tired. We are tired, friends, of the stonewalling, and we have had it with the excuses. So today in Washington, and in more than 100 communities across the country, we're gonna say, and say it loud and clear, we're taking the gloves off to knock off the secrecy and have, at the public's demand, that the president do what's right for the American people. I am so glad that today we have given birth to the new grassroots Knock It Off movement. And I'll close just by saying that the reason it is so wonderful that you're here today, and we're going to have thousands of others in these communities across the country, is that political change, as much as we respect our capital, political change doesn't start in government buildings and then trickle down. Political change doesn't trickle down. It's bottoms up. It's bottoms up. As people like yourselves come together, as you come together with a strong message that your interests are what a president has got to address, not personal interests. So thank you for being here. I'm proud to be part of the birth of the Knock It Off movement. I'll be all behind you every step of the way. God bless.
Lock it up! Lock it up! Lock it up! Lock it up! Lock it up!
Everyone, one more big round of applause for Senator Ron Wyden.
He's the truth and a liar.
Great.
Lock him up.
Now I'd like you to do me a favor
And a
and
liar.
give a big, warm, progressive welcome to another woman, an incredible leader, someone I admire greatly. She is the president of Demos, who fights daily for an America where we have an equal say in our democracy and an equal chance in our economy. Please welcome Heather McGhee.
An equal say and an equal chance for all of our people. At Demos, our name means the people. And today, my friends, the people of our great country are being cheated out of the fruits of our democracy. Because this weekend, millions of Americans are sending their hard-earned money to Washington and to state capitals, and we do it because it is our duty. We do it because it is right. And we do it because this country has invested in us, and we believe in what Americans can do together. We pay our taxes because we think our families and our neighbors deserve clean water, safe roads, schools worthy of our children. And yes, sometimes, without shame, our families and our neighbors deserve help. Help affording a doctor's visit or rent or food on the table. And why is that? Because too many jobs don't pay enough to pay the bills, and it's not their fault. That's what our taxes do for us, for our families and our neighbors. That's who we work for. But we're gathered here today to find out, who is Donald Trump working for? What is he hiding? Is he working for the defense contractors whose stocks are rising because he's sending bombs and trying to do a budget grab of $54 billion for defense when we already have a bigger military than the next 7 countries combined? Donald Trump working for the defense contractors who are clamoring at the trough at the idea of Trump's stupid wall. A wall paid for with cuts to Meals on Wheels and Sesame Street and libraries. A wall to keep out the undocumented immigrants who pay $23 billion a year in Social Security, state and local taxes. That's right, Donald. A migrant farm worker is probably contributing more to this country than you are. And who he's working for. Is it the polluters who are cheering his cuts to the EPA? The polluters who sacrifice the next generation in the name of next quarter's profits? The polluters who pour millions into Republican campaigns and in return they give us asthma, lead poisoning, and a climate crisis threatening life as we know it? We want to know what Trump's hiding and who he's working for. Today, there are 200 tax marches across the country in small towns and big cities. Because we are fed up. We're fed up with billionaires bragging that they pay next to nothing in taxes. We're fed up with Fortune 500 companies paying their lobbyists more than they pay every year in taxes. And you'd better believe that we're fed up with our families and our neighbors getting stuck with the bill and still being told there's not enough money to fix the pipes in Flint and the Flints in West Virginia and Arizona and all over this country. Donald Trump's friends and family, his Goldman Sachs cabinet, and the members of his country club in Palm Beach, the bankers who bail out his bad building deals, and yes, the Russian oligarchs he's swapping favors with. They're all part of the cabal that is cheating America, cheating our families and our neighbors to the tune of $400 billion a year. That's how much the IRS says we're coming up short because of tax dodging by corporations and the super rich. Every year at budget time, we're coming up short. They tell us there's not enough money to make the schools better, or even to keep them open in some neighborhoods. They tell us they've got to cut the bus lines and shut down the after-school programs. They tell us tuition's going up at community college, and you can forget about pre-K for your 4-year-old. Well, today, across the country, Americans are calling bullshit. Money is, and we are sending you the bill. Thank you.
How do I follow that? I told you she's incredible, a role model, and a fantastic human being. Love, 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 Heather McGhee. One more time, Heather McGhee. Next, I have the honor of introducing someone who is a great statehood advocate for D.C., a loyal progressive, a tireless progressive, and advocate on the front lines in Congress to stop Trump's dangerous agenda. Please welcome Congressman Jamie Raskin.
Let's hear it for the revolutionary patriots who created America. America was conceived by tax protesters like you chanting no taxation without representation. And as proud Americans, we dust that slogan off and we raise it on behalf of 700,000 tax-paying patriotic citizens right here in the nation's capital who are denied voting representation in that building right there. The CEOs are well represented in this administration, but they pay little taxes. But the patriotic people of Washington, D.C. pay billions in taxes and have no representation at all. We're not going to take it anymore. The first Americans overthrew a king who imposed tea taxes on small businesses and the people, but exempted his tycoon buddies in the East India Corporation. A king who sweated the commoners with high taxes to pay for his lavish expenses and traveling jaunts of the royal family and royal court. A king who never paid any taxes and never disclosed his entanglements with foreign kings and dictators. Mr. Trump, if you can hear us from Mar-a-Lago, read the Constitution. We have no kings here. We have no slaves here. We have citizens with equal rights. We allow no titles of nobility in America, a point you might mention to your Secretary of State, who still carries that disgraceful title conferred by King Putin, the Russian Order of Friendship. Dump the title. And we do not allow our presidents or members of Congress to collect presents, emoluments, offices, or titles, payments of any kind from foreign princes, kings, dictators, governments, and state-owned banks and corporations. Article 1, Section 9. Look it up. In America, no one is above the law, and all of us are subject to it. As Tom Paine put it, in the monarchies, the king is law, but in the democracies, the law is king. Mr. President, you've got one main job beyond watching TV and tweeting about it, which is to, quote, take care that the laws be faithfully executed. As long as you are president, you owe undivided loyalty to the people and the laws of the United States of America. Not the mobbed-up oligarchs of Russia, not corrupt businessmen in Azerbaijan, not the Bank of China, and not the dictators and despots of the world. When you look in the mirror, please stop seeing a global CEO who is above the law and start seeing a public servant who must enforce the law and set an example by following it. You can start by paying your employees at the Trump Hotel their full wages. And then pay your small business contractors what you owe them. And then pay your damn taxes. That's what real Americans do. That's what real American business people do. But you stiff your employees. You rip off the students at Trump U. You don't pay your painters or your carpenters or your builders. You're embroiled in more than 3,000 lawsuits. You sexually harass women at will like an 18th century king. Or a 21st century Fox TV news host. You hire an army of lawyers to keep from paying your taxes, which is a terrible example, and if all Americans followed it, the whole tax system would come crashing to the ground. And now you're breaking another promise. You won't release your tax returns, violating a bipartisan presidential practice that goes back to Watergate. Mr. President, how can we determine your conflicts of interest or stop you from collecting payments from foreign governments if you won't show us the names of the people and corporations that you are in active partnership all over the world today? How can we police the conflicts of interest? How can we police the conflicts of interest in your administration when you set the world standard for non-disclosure and non-cooperation? Mr. President, your administration has a staph infection and it's spreading every day. And we have come here today with some democratic disinfectant. And now, after the rejection of your unconstitutional immigration executive orders in court and the rejection in Congress of your terrible health care tax giveaway plan to the richest Americans, you want to rewrite our entire tax code. Fair enough, it's regressive, it's riddled with special interest loopholes, and it's opaquely complex. But we cannot debate tax policy in America, Mr. President, unless we know what personal, family, and business interests are motivating and defining your proposals. My friends, is there anyone left in America, Democrat, Republican, Independent, who thinks that President Trump would propose a tax reform that would hurt his own business interests? If you believe that, you are too innocent to be let out of the house by yourself. Mr. President, we know you favor abolishing the estate tax, which was designed to overthrow the political and financial dynasties that you seek to revive in this century. Eliminating the estate tax will allow you to control both your fortune and your children without having to create irrevocable trusts in your lifetime. We get that. But what are the other corporate relationships, foreign entanglements, offshore investments, and strategic bankruptcies that are dictating and defining your tax policy proposals? We want to know! Mr. President, we cannot... We cannot allow you to reshuffle the deck until you take your personal cards out of your pocket and lay them on the table. If you don't release your tax returns, we have no way of knowing whether you're putting America first or you're putting Donald Trump first. You know, Oliver Wendell Holmes said he didn't mind paying taxes because they are the price of a civilized society. But it only works if we all pay our taxes and we all follow the law. Mr. Trump, stop hiding whatever you're hiding. Stop acting like a king and start acting like all the other presidents did, Republicans and Democrats alike. Show us your taxes. And stop consorting with Russian oligarchs and Putin's spy masters. The Russians that we should care about are the ones marching in the street against corruption and against authoritarianism. And that's what we're doing today here, right now. Thank you very much.
Don't call him Mr. President!
Can we get a medic
Call
up here
him
really quick?
traitor!
Yep. Great. All right. Go. Thanks, Congressman Rice. I really appreciate it. We're good? Awesome. All right. Very powerful message. Really appreciate it. Next, I'd like to introduce Lisa Gilbert. Lisa is the Vice President of Public Citizen, an organization that serves as the people's voice and is located right here in the nation's capital. Please welcome Lisa.
Good afternoon. It is so incredible to be here with all of you calling for transparency. I am here to say that Donald Trump is dead wrong if he thinks the public does not care about his tax returns. But just look at us. So we stand here to tell him that he works for the people, and we, the people, are demanding his returns. We stand here to say that we must not be denied the information we need about his motivations, his actions, and whether and if he is profiting off of his presidency. We stand here to say that we need to better understand his foreign entanglements and his conflicts of interest. Now, we know that Donald Trump is under no legal obligation to release his tax returns. He's made a lot of that fact, and throughout the campaign, he said he'd release them later, as soon as his routine audit was over. As soon as the campaign ended, he walked that back. Well, Americans disagree. Almost 75% of Americans believe that Donald Trump should release his tax returns. And it's not a partisan issue. In fact, a conservative member of Congress, Walter Jones, said it very well. He said, if you believe in ethics, if you think this place should be about ethics for the good of the people, then you believe in tax disclosure. It is really as simple as that. And as others have said here today, Donald Trump is the first president in over 40 years not to disclose his taxes. That every sitting president since Richard Nixon has published their returns. It's part of an unwritten compact with us, with the American people, to be forthright, to be honest. So why not President Trump? What does he have to hide? Now, Trump's unwillingness to divest his own business assets has left the nation to assume that he'll do his best to make money off of his policy choices. A glimpse into the assets from his taxes is the least he can do to try to dispel that assumption. For the American people to have trust in our government leaders need to have trust in us. We need this transparency to increase our faith in our leaders and as a safeguard against corruption and conflicts. When the first 2 pages of Donald Trump's 2005 Form 1040 mysteriously landed in Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist David K. Johnson's mailbox, the nation tuned in to Rachel Maddow to see what the big reveal would be. But unfortunately, it wasn't a complete return, and there's a lot that we don't know. So we don't know the real nature of his charitable contributions. We don't know the real nature of his foreign ties through his foreign tax credit. We don't know how much he personally pays. Probably very little. And we certainly don't know how much money he actually makes. But what we do know is those 2 pages whetted the nation's appetite for more and reminded us that this information should not be a secret. Donald Trump's actions to date as president, from putting his sons in charge of his company rather than divesting his assets into a blind trust, to putting a cabinet of multi-millionaires into place, laden with their own personal conflicts of interest, and to visiting one of his Trump-branded properties on average every 2.8 days since he has been president. It has only served to increase Americans' distrust and suspicion. Again, releasing his tax returns is literally the least that he can do to try to do away with this suspicion and distrust. Now, disclosure of Trump's returns is completely vital, but today's marches are also about more than that. They're about Americans standing up to a rigged tax code where billionaires pay a lower rate than their assistants, where some multinational corporations don't pay taxes at all, and where small businesses and hardworking families are forced to pick up the tab for our society, for the one that we want to live in. And big businesses and the wealthy, they don't pay their fair share. Now, we should not have to be here to rally, to march, to tweet, to push the man elected to the highest office in the land to be transparent and honest with the American people. But we do. And so we are here, and Public Citizen proudly adds our voice to say, release your taxes, Trump. Show us that you're listening to the people and that you deserve our trust. Thank you.
Lisa, thank you so much for your leadership on these issues. I really appreciate you coming out today. I'd like to take a moment to thank a few more of the Tax March partners. Please join me in thanking Our Revolution, the Center for Popular Democracy, Change.org, I see those red shirts out there, Avaz, Public Citizen, I've heard that somewhere before, and of course the National Women's Law Center. Also to remind folks to text MARCH to 21333 right now. And of course, the hashtag TaxMarch and follow @TaxMarch. Thanks again. So, how many of you marched on January the 21st at the Women's March? All right, me too. Well, we have a very special guest, next to very special guests. I'd like to introduce Tamika Mallory and Bob Blaine, the national co-chairs of the Women's March on Washington.
y'all doing out there? What's up, y'all? I am so proud to be standing here today, brothers and sisters. On January 21st, we made history together that no one can ever take away from us. I am standing with one of the other co-chairs of the Women's March on Washington, Bob Bland, who literally had a baby during the march planning and is still standing here with us today. Let's give Bob a round of applause. And on behalf of almost 5 million people who marched all around the world, I greet you in love and solidarity today. We sparked the resistance for this administration and for any local government that seeks to oppress us. We sparked the resistance. And since that day, we have not stopped pushing back against sexism, racism, and fascism in this country. I'm proud of us, brothers and sisters, that we are not afraid to say that this administration is no good for humankind. And that our rights are in jeopardy as long as they remain in control in Washington. We are here to say today, show us the damn tax returns. But we know that we are not here for one reason alone. The American public being denied the right to see Trump's taxes is just one of the hypocritical and unethical things that we have seen come out of this administration. The attacks on our Muslim, undocumented, LGBTQIA, black and brown brothers and sisters, and women, ladies and gentlemen, are other reasons why we are here today. We must continue to fight for our freedom. We must be willing to lock arms with one another. We demand that we see Trump's taxes while we also demand that all of our rights are protected. We demand to see Trump's taxes while we also demand that women's rights be treated as human rights. We must speak with one voice, in one accord, and we must draw a direct line between Trump's taxes and missing girls, missing black girls all across this country. We must say that while we resist one, we resist all, or else our fight is inauthentic. We must say Trump's taxes and equal education. We must say Trump's taxes and no police brutality. We must say that Trump's taxes is where we start today, but we will not end there. That all our rights must be protected, and who the hell do you think you are to hide anything and to treat us as though we are less than human? You do not own us. You work for us, Donald Trump. And the people, united, will never be defeated.
We'll never be defeated. The people, united.
We'll never be defeated. The people, united. We'll never be defeated. The people, united. We'll never be defeated.
All right, thank you. We got a few more folks to go before we can get out to kick some Trump ass. Let's keep the show moving along. Tamika, thank you so much for speaking today. You and Bob are great inspiration for us. You started the movement, and we'll be marching with you in the future. And now I'd like to welcome Isaias Guerrero, an organizer for the Rise Up May 1st Day of Action, and David Sanchez, from the People's Climate March. Please give them a big round of applause, folks.
All right, how are we all doing today? Show me what democracy looks like! Show me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like!
Yes, this is the power, this is the people right here present and the voice of truth. So, my name is Isaías Guerrero and I'm an organizer with the Center for Community Change. I am organizer for the South with 44 organizations that are pushing every day for immigrant rights, for a better democracy. Yes! So, I embody my parents' dream, started because of unemployment and car bombs, from a country suffering from inequality. This pushed my family to look for solace abroad.